Okay, I'll turn it out. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you more about it.
Okay.
You can buy as many details as you want.
Okay.
There are like singles, doubles that are put together.
Okay.
It's kind of fun. It's certainly a fundraiser. But every little bit helps. Yeah, especially. So, yeah, I think that make a difference. Sarah is ill. She was going to pay and pay for nursing services. I can be there for parts of the Are you able to go to the same office together? Yeah. Oh, great. Okay. That's fine. Yeah, I'll be here. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. They're getting on the table. Get information.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
We always get confused.
My name is Bob Boyd, and I have the pleasure of being your liturgist this morning in support of our affiliate minister, Dee Evans, and some very nice music, which you've just heard a piece of and which you will hear more of later. Eliot Chapel is a liberal religious congregation that aspires to realize the dream of beloved community. Whether you're with us in person or on the internet, we're glad you've taken time out of this Sunday morning, beautiful Sunday morning, to spend with us. And we hope that what you find here, what you hear here, will fill a need for you and that you will find it useful to come back. If you are new this morning, you should have received a white visitor's card from one of the greeters. If you will fill that out, please, and if you have children on both sides, that will enable us to stay in contact with you. And we hope, of course, we'll see you again. Regardless of how old you are, regardless of how much money you have, regardless of where you are on your faith journey, regardless of how you present yourself or whom you love, you are welcome here. Our core values include freedom, reason, respect, and love. If you are new this morning or new-ish or just want somebody to talk to, please be sure to join us for a coffee hour after the service. Come forward and exit to your right. And if you are new or newish, please take a blue cup and we will know that you want to be talked to, and we will make a special effort to include you in the conversation. And if you have a white cup, please make a special effort to find and talk to people with blue cups. Now it's time to join.
Unitarian Universalist light a chalice to signify that we are entering a sacred space. We are using the words of Albert Schweitzer to accompany the lighting of our chalice. At times, our own light does go out and is rekindled with a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think that with deep gratitude about those who have lighted the flame within us. And that will do just perfectly. So please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn. Number 6, just as long as I have breath.
Thank
stewardship moment this morning will be led by Jim Bewley.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Bewley. That's not a problem at all. I'm here representing Sue Bell, who's not in today. And I could not find a construction paper, so I could not update, but we are at over 50% on our pledge drive. So we, as of Friday, one thing I forgot. If you pledge today, you're still entered in the drawing for the St. Louis card, $300 card raffle, or drawing. So don't forget to do that if you haven't pledged yet. And then as of Friday, we have reached 149 pledge units of the 260, so that's again over 50. And then that brings us up to 470,000 towards the 650,000 for the estimated budget. So please be generous. And now I would like to introduce Tim Gardner, who is going to give a brief testimony. Thank you.
Oh, brief? Good morning, Dean. I was told no more than 8 minutes. My first wife and I came to Eliot Chapel over 50 years ago. She left, I stayed. My second wife and I first met here at Eliot Chapel. We were married here. Our combined 3 sons were dedicated here, and her memorial service was here. I re-met Mary Beth Griffin here at Eliot when Margaret Hasse had an 80th birthday party in Adams Hall some 18 years ago. What does all this have to do with our current pledge drive? The selfish explanation is that without Eliot Chapel, without our pledges and the pledges of those who came before us, Eliot would not have continued to thrive, and I would be a very lonely, shriveled, embittered old man. The better explanation is that only through successful pledge drives do each of us, certainly I, find Eliot to be our loving community as we journey along toward wholeness. My first pledge to Eliot Chapel was $50, not per week, not per month, but $50 annually. Sorry. For me, Eliot has been not only about treasure, but also time. I've sung in the choir, and I've taught religious education. In fact, Will Holcomb and I first taught Susan Gray, now Susan Frederick Gray, in our RE program when she was in kindergarten. Each year, Will and I would take a semester teaching RE, following Susan and her classmates, first grade, second grade, and so forth. My late wife, BJ, then followed Susan and the youth group through their high school years. So I took a special pride when Susan became the first ever woman to become president of our UUA, our national association. I taught our whole lives, the UU Fantastic Human Sexuality Program for all ages. I've participated in a covenant group, our annual Men's Advance. Men, mark your calendar, first weekend in May. Our pledge to end racism in St. Louis, and our vigil for hope and healing. Beth and I now participate in the wonderfully challenging Wellspring Adult RE program. In short, my life has been transformed time and again by this community we simply call Eliot Chapel. Transformation, our theme of the month. Now, we have called a new minister to lead us, to challenge, celebrate, and grieve with us. Beth and I are so excited Reverend Krista has accepted our call. We have looked within and reassessed and have raised our pledge 33% over last year's pledge. We hope you too will look within as you make your financial pledge to Eliot Unitarian Chapel and help it continue to transform our whole lives. Thank you. Now, will you join me in reciting our congregational covenant as printed in your order of service? As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be, to listen fully to each other with an open mind and heart, to speak responsibly and respectfully, to find ways to improve our church for all members and friends.
There's nothing like writing down Jeff Bewley and then saying Jim Bewley. I'm sorry. As I was listening to that stewardship moment, I flashed back to having been a president in my own congregation, my home congregation. And I remember how I felt during pledge drive, because the pledges meant we could plan consistently. And people said to me, what difference does it make? I give anyway. Well, yeah, it makes a difference, because sometimes when you travel, you don't give, whereas a pledge is consistently. So for the sake of your board and their calm being, please pledge. We are talking about transformation today. Transformation is about changing things. So for our wisdom story, I want to tell the story of Nicholas Lowinger. This is a true story. His mother took him to a homeless shelter when he was 5. He was surprised to find that some children had no shoes, some children shared shoes, and some children that had shoes that were totally torn apart and shoddy. That stuck with him because he had just gotten a brand new pair of sneakers, exactly the kind of sneakers he wanted. As time went on, he learned that when children have no shoes, they can't go to school or play in certain areas. When Nicholas was 12 years old, he had to do a project for his bar mitzvah. You know, the Jewish ceremony that says a person is an adult and can decide how to practice their religion. For his bar mitzvah project, he started a project to get shoes to children who live in shelters. But he could not do it alone. So he mentored others so they could get shoes for children who had no shoes. He is now an adult. With the help of others, his foundation has given 100,000 pair of shoes to children who live in shelters. It has changed their lives, allowing them to go to school and play where other children play. That is the wisdom story for today, so let us sing to our youth. Let us enter into a time of prayer. Spirit of life, Spirit of mystery, Spirit that is undefined and undefinable, may we find in community the love that moves our hearts to make our world a better place. let us enter into a time of silence for the prayers and meditations of our hearts. Let us speak the names of those we hold in care. Steve. Amen and blessed be. Please remain seated for our meditative hymn, number 94, What is This Life?
To welcome Cindy Miller, the Executive Director of Circle of Concern, to address us this morning about their work. We are sharing our offering plate with them this month. And before I ask Cindy to come up, I've got to share one thing with you. Circle of Concern was founded by a group of women in churches in the Parkway and I think Rockwood school districts, mostly Parkway, of whom my mother, Jessie Lee Cotton Boyd, was one. So we've always felt a very close affiliation with them. Cindy?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you and share today. It's wonderful to hear that historical connection, and now I understand your long support of Circle. And we have others in the room who've supported us, and the Joneses are so involved, so engaged as volunteers, and we just appreciate that so much. We are a food pantry and social services agency. That's how we describe ourselves, because we do more than food, although the food is very important. We have a client choice food pantry, and we serve about 650 families each month through the food pantry. It's a client choice means that our guests get to come in and choose their own groceries, and it's led by a registered dietitian nutritionist, so she uses that education and her knowledge and skills in the purchasing that she does of the fresh foods and the education and recipes that we share with our clients. Case management is part of our model, and there's science behind that. When you have wraparound services and case management in a pantry setting, it helps families to move forward and to get to a place of stability more quickly. So those wraparound services include financial assistance, typically to help a family avoid eviction or utility shutoff. We have career mentorship. We have kids programs, including what we call summer opportunities, and these are mini scholarships to help a child go to camp, either to learn to swim, or maybe it's a band camp, a sports camp, or any number of opportunities. We help parents buy school supplies through retail gift cards, and we have a birthday club. Those are some of our kid programs. We also have a scholarship program because we think that education is key to helping families move out of poverty. And finally, we do some things around the holidays where we help families with special holiday foods and gift cards and so forth. And we are able to do all of these things because of folks like you who care about our neighbors. And so thank you for allowing me time to share with you today. And thanks for choosing Circle as your charity of choice this month. Thank you.
Join me in the unison words of dedication, which you'll find in your order of service. To the work of the church, we dedicate our lives, and these our offerings. This morning's reading is titled Rebirth. At age 20, I had the fortune of traveling the world. Through a study abroad program, I journeyed to awe-inspiring destinations like India, Cuba, and South Africa. In the process, I witnessed extreme poverty, global wealth, power disparity, and the effects of war and militarism, all while assured of my safety and physical comfort. Throughout my voyage, I became aware of the bubble in which I had these cross-cultural experiences, and within which I made sense of my whole life. I experienced my travels as getting smacked in the face by my own privilege, and it stung. And yet I tried to remain open to allow myself to be changed, to question or let go of what I had known before, to submit myself to a transformative experience and to answer whatever call the world offered me, hoping I could really listen. When I returned to the United States, I struggled with what felt like more than reverse cultural shock. All around me, in my suburban home, my congregation, at my liberal arts college, I saw now that my normal life was buffered from much of the world's suffering. Everything seemed the same, yet forever different. In the first few weeks, I went through the motions, mechanically carrying out administrative tasks by day, numbing my mind with television by night. That lifestyle kept me functioning through my grief and fear. Grief for the life I'd led, but could no longer reconcile with what I now knew about the world. Fear that I would not, in fact, be changed, but would instead resume my previous ignorant patterns and assumptions. I felt a great sense of urgency, a frantic need to reconfigure my life in accordance with my values. Soon after, my first UUA General Assembly brought me back to life. I'd long had a deep love for Unitarian Universalism. Because of it, I had built many of my strongest, deepest friendships. I had been trained as a leader and claimed my voice through preaching in the pulpit or singing favorite hymns in the pews. But that week, I connected in a new way with the Unitarian Universalist commitment to social justice, a commitment I now felt aching deep in my bones. No longer alone, rather literally surrounded by leaders and resources for justice making, I began to lay a new path. Throughout the following decade, I devoted myself personally and professionally to social justice, returning again and again to my faith, not only as a movement for justice, but as a sanctuary of spirit. Sometimes I needed connection with others. Other times I needed a safe place to fall apart. More than once, my quest for justice left me weary, jaded, frustrated, and lost. Yet in the cradle of religious community, knowing that I am one among many, building a better world, I have been birthed and rebirthed. This is by Betty Jean Reuter's word, and that ends the reading.
Wonderful. Good morning. Good morning. One of the things I like about the younger generation is that they demand a better work-life balance. In the research I did, all generations want a good work-life balance, but the younger generations expect that balance. And that gives me hope that our country will move toward a better way of life. However, the financial section of the news feed on my phone paints a much different picture. I find articles about how to strive to be at the top in the workplace. Work harder and longer, it seems to be, that is the message. When I scroll down to the personal life section in my news feed, there are articles on how to improve yourself. So work hard, but also exercise. Eat healthy. Cook healthy. Give your family, spouse, partner, friends, and children all the time they need with you. Be the perfect parent. Be the perfect grandparent. That is the message that I find out there. Oh, by the way, develop a hobby and maintain your own psychological well-being. That's just my news feed. I won't even go into what's on social media. A trip to the bookstore doesn't prove any differently. I went into the business section, and there were books that abound on how to get ahead in your job, how to make your career more successful. A move to the psychology and self-help sections have books on how to improve every aspect of your personality, your relationships, and your life. And then, to top all of this off, both my newsfeed and the bookstore actually lead to the world. So we move from the individual to the world, particularly the problems in the United States. They point out women are losing rights over their own bodies, and the gender gap in pay still continues. LGBTQ individuals are at risk for losing their civil rights and the rights to health care. Voting rights are being eroded. Climate change is impacting all parts of our world. Our crops are becoming depleted because our land is becoming depleted. Our rivers in some places have dried up, and our glaciers have melted. Two contradictory things that are happening, but they are happening. And global warming causes extreme weather conditions and contributes to the severity of wildfires. Income inequality and food insecurity continue along with poverty. Racism and hate crimes go on. Mass shootings are on the rise. Now, I could go on with more problems, but you get the picture. And as Unitarian Universalists, we want to bring justice and take care of our world. But there is so much that needs to be fixed that it can almost seem overwhelming. It is no wonder that facing all this, the need for mental health services has grown at such a fast pace. Some people are waiting weeks and even months for mental health services. There's a lot of research on how COVID affected the mental health of children. In my opinion, we have underestimated the effect that the pandemic had on us as adults. Since COVID began, it has been a time of continual change and challenge. Everything about what I just said resulted in me giving out a big groan when I heard that the theme for this month was transformation. Yes, having faced continual change in the last 4 years, asking people to strive for transformation on a personal or societal level just seemed too much. Furthermore, not all transformation is positive. In the Christian tradition, this Sunday is called Palm Sunday. The story says that Jesus obtained a donkey, and on that donkey rode into Jerusalem in triumph. The crowd spread branches on the ground, the palms, that's where that comes from, and shouted blessings to Jesus. However, less than a week later, allegedly the same crowd transformed from one of blessing to one of saying, "Crucify Jesus." But we're not going to talk about that type of transformation today. We're not talking about negative transformation. So what is transformation? Transformation can be both the process of change and also the result of that process. It is a movement from one state of being to another. It entails a lot of work. We have to know how things are and how we want them to be. So we have to have a vision of what we want, whether or not we are speaking of transformation on a personal level or a societal level. Another way of saying this is all transformation has some sort of goal. Yet, with all going on in our lives, do we want more goals? In addition to a vision, we need a plan to make that vision a reality. We must answer such questions as, how many steps will this take? How much time will it take? Is money needed? Are materials needed? In addition, we have to anticipate the glitches or the problems that can disrupt the progress toward the plan. The path is never a straight line. And finally, the plan has to be put in action or there won't be any transformation. Because I find the Buddhist philosophy helpful, I looked on the web to see if Buddhists had anything to say about or any insights into transformation, and I found several things. But what really caught my attention was a teaching by Domyo Burke, a Soto Zen priest. She indicates that working toward any goal, we can become obsessed or discouraged, which is exactly why I wondered about how I could possibly speak about transformation. What could I say that would be helpful? So in addition to looking at what Buddhists have to say about transformation, I looked up what Unitarian Universalists have to say about transformation. I put UUs and transformation into the search engine. Up popped Article 2 and the revision of it, and from our Unitarian Universalist Constitution. Now, if you have been here the last year, you know that we are revising Article 2 of the Unitarian Universalist Constitution. In fact, in June, at our General Assembly, we will vote about whether we're going to accept that revision or not. Love is the center of this revision, and from this flows values, and one of the values that flow from that is transformation. So what does Article 2 say about the value of transformation? Let me quote, "Transformation, we adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect." I sighed. No matter how tired we may be, no matter how uncertain we may feel about the future, no matter what we've been through in the last 4 years, given Article 2, we as UUs cannot run from transformation. It was only when I read this part a second time that the word collectively jumped out at me. We covenant to collectively transform. Collectively. Transformation does not fall on my shoulders as an individual. It does not fall on anyone's shoulders as an individual. It is something we engage in together. It is something we do as community. That flips the script. Let me give a practical example of why it flips the script. I wanted to transform my eating habits. I did everything I was supposed to. I had a vision of what that meant. I made a plan. I found recipes. I made a whole meal plan for the week of those recipes, and I even bought the groceries. Despite all this, I very successfully evaded this plan by eating out all week. Yep, I really did that. Now, I felt really guilty when I had to throw some of the food out. I don't like throwing out food. And I would love to tell you that the guilt made me move toward doing differently the second week. It didn't. At the end of the second week, a friend sent me an article on healthy eating, and I called her and we started talking, and we both agreed that we would take just one step in the following week toward healthy eating. Just one little step together. The third week, neither one of us threw out any food. Yes, it was only a community of two that brought about that transformation, but it was a community. It was a lesson. Transformation is not as difficult when you are not trying to do it alone. That is the wisdom of Article 2. Collectively, we engage in transformation. The perfect example of this is our wisdom story. We learned about a young man who wanted children and homeless children shelters to have shoes. The key to the change was that he trained others to repeat the process. It did not fall on his shoulders, but on many sets of shoulders. It took a community to get those 100,000 pairs of shoes to children in homeless shelters. One reason community makes transformation easier is that we have a shared vision, a vision that we can remind each other of when we became discouraged. In our reading, the author was discouraged and felt almost kind of hopelessness, though she didn't use the word. But when she went to UU, General Assembly, seeing her friends and being with others re-energized her. Her step into community helped her see the vision again. Research shows that when we make a plan, input from more than one person makes that plan effective. I was thinking while they were playing the recorder about what happened in Jericho. Was it one person who played to make the walls fall down? No, it was a whole group of people. And it's kind of funny that they made the walls of their enemies fall down by playing music. But according to the Bible, that's what happened. Because the plan was together, and together they carried it out. So even in a biblical story, community is important. And then there's always glitches. There's always going to be glitches, and no matter what we try. But Article 2 reminds us that nothing is ever perfect. It's never complete. All of this is pretty clear when we are talking about moving towards social justice. But certainly social justice involves a good spiritual and ethical underpinning that's addressed in Article 2. One of the many things I learned as I became a UU is that we support different spiritual paths in UU. The picture painted was one of individual pursuit of our own spiritual and ethical values. But basically, according to Article 2, the transformation takes place collectively. collectively. The revision of Article 2 moves transformation from individuality to community. Our central value would be love, and everything, including transformation, flows from love. That is why Article 2 says we must do it collectively. Our personal transformation, as well as the transformation of society, flows from us together. Yes, the last 4 years meant constant change and constant challenge. But when we move from transformation from our individual shoulders to a community effort, we flip the script. We change everything. Amen. So may it be. Please rise in body and spirit for our closing hymn. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn 146. Soon the day will arrive. You can be seated. Our closing words today are by Deborah Hafner. It is our journey together. We are on a journey. We didn't plan, not yet. We didn't plan it. We didn't have time for the bread to rise. We may find ourselves in the wilderness, hungry, thirsty, doubting that we should ever come. But look around. We are not alone. It is our journey together, a journey to our better selves, a journey to a better world, a journey to a more promised land. We began our service with lighting our chalice. Please join me in extinguishing our chalice flame with the printed words in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice with the light of faith, but the warmth of community, the fire of the community, because we carry it in our hearts together. told me I was fortunate because today we would have some very talented people play recorders. So I was fortunate. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today. Love to you all. See you next week.